Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Novice Nurse here. So I know I've been gone for a bit, or kind of like posting not consistently. There's just been a lot going on. Not like a lot, but I just wanted to get a lot of things settled out before I made another video to talk about an update. So it's like the last week before finals. Finally almost done with the semester, thank God. I currently have a 98% in my nutrition class. I have a 95% in my anatomy 1 class. I have a higher percentage in my lecture than I do in my lab though, but it's gonna cumulative to a basically. And then in my stats class I have a 91%, which is subject to change. So because I'm gonna have my final and I'm like super nervous about it, but we'll see how it goes. So as of now I have straight A's, which is still really cool. I'm hoping I can maintain them for my final. And yeah, that's what's going on with school. But one of the greatest things that's going on right now with my medical assistants is I just got a job. I actually just got my offer today at one of the biggest hospitals in my area, so I'm really excited about that. I'll be working on a floor where it's med-surg, and it's where the patients come after they leave the emergency room if they end up getting submitted into the hospital to stay. So it's inpatient care basically, with a few people who are temporary, but it's mostly inpatients. So I'll be, working with the same patients every day for the most part. It might, rotate out or rotate in here and there, but it's not like, like an urgent care where it's just a new person every 10 minutes or something. So that'll be nice. But so I guess I could talk about my interview process a bit. I didn't want to talk about the process while I was in it, just because I just wanted a clear flow through my portal of getting a job. I didn't want to talk about it, to the universe or to other people to put any kind of like energy on it or anything like that. So I wanted to talk about it afterwards, if that makes sense. Basically, after I graduated, which was October 4th, I started applying to jobs about the following week. When I received my ID number, and I applied to a few local jobs. I was looking mostly for OBGYN at first, and I wasn't hearing back from anything. And I decided to apply to hospitals looking for, I guess, like med-surg, just regular, medical assistant positions in the hospital. And I heard back from the 2 hospitals. I've heard back from the first hospital, which is the one I'm going to be working at. I heard back from them like a week. No, it was like 3 days after I applied, actually. It was like 3 days after I applied. It was a recruiter, and he was super nice. Asked me why I wanted to work there. Asked me, why did I change fields? He asked me, my schedule. And at first it seemed like my school schedule was like interfering, which was kind of weird because my schedule for next semester is from 6:30 to 9, so it's like at night. So I thought that was like the perfect schedule for school, but they wanted someone who could work from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and I couldn't do that. So it was for the doctor's office aspects of that hospital. So he said you can work probably in the hospital. They have, a 24-hour time period where you can work, and more hours for you to work. So he told me he was going to transfer me over to the HR who runs per diem. So I was like, okay, fine, I could do per diem. I might actually end up working out when I do my nursing school later on. So he transferred me over to that. I didn't hear back from the per diem manager of HR for like another week, and she got back to me she called me, and I missed her call. I was so pissed because I was like, oh my god, I missed this lady's call. And it was like she called me at like 10:45 in the morning. I was asleep. I woke up like 20 minutes later. I called her back, and I missed her call. She wasn't in the office the following day, so when I called her the next day, she didn't answer, and she said she wouldn't be back till Tuesday. This was like the beginning, no, this was like late October, by the way. And I can't remember the exact day, but yeah. And so I called her the following Tuesday, and she never answered. So I sent her an email saying, no, she sent me an email saying, hi, like, do you have your certifications? Do you have phlebotomy? Do you have EKG? Do you have all your certifications? Did you graduate high school? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, okay, well, we're gonna have an interview day November 20th. I'm like, dang, that's like 3 weeks from now, but okay, yeah, I sure definitely want to come. So she said, okay, here's all the information for the interview day. So November 20th came. By the way, the second hospital hadn't called me yet. So, wait, did they call me? No, they didn't call me yet. So I go to my interview day, which was just basically like a bunch of people for applying to different jobs in the hospital, coming in and going into this auditorium and meeting with different HR reps to talk about what they want to do, what times they want to do it, and all of that information. So I met with a rep. It was actually ended up being the first guy I spoke with, the first HR rep I spoke with. And he's like, wait, I remember you. And I'm like, yeah. He talked to me on the phone, and he's like, okay. And so he got my hours and wrote them down. And I was a little discouraged because it just seemed like my hours were like an inconvenience for them. Like, oh, I don't know, you can't work full time because full time is 7 to 7, and you know, you have school and da. And I don't know if per diem, and basically told me that per diem I wouldn't get benefits. If I worked full-time and part-time, I could get tuition and reimbursement, which honestly, if I could save like $40,000, that'd be great. So I kind of wanted to do full-time or part-time instead of per diem, even though I kind of was steered towards per diem because it would be better for my school schedule, but in the long, it wouldn't be better for like finances. So I was looking more towards part-time. I just wanted to get my foot in the door and just talk to someone later about that, because I'm not even going to nursing school for at least another, what, 8 months, 9 months, maybe even a year. I guess it depends on which school I get into or whatever. So I was just like, look, I just need to get myself in the door, and I can always change my schedule later. So yeah, so I was told them I'm open to, you know, day shifts, night shifts, full-time, part-time, preferably those two because I want tuition reimbursement, and if it comes down to it, per diem. He said okay. So I think a few days went by. I got an email from another HR rep who said, you know, thank you for coming to our interview. Oh, back up. The same day after my interview, I got a call from a second hospital, which actually gave me, it's another big hospital in my area, and which gave me more comfort, I guess, because now I have two options, you know what I mean? It's not like I have all my eggs in one basket. So I was like, okay. They were like, oh yeah, we want you to come in for an interview, you know, on, what was it? I think it was Tuesday, you know, in the morning. This was last week. So I was like, okay, I can come. So this is like the same week of Thanksgiving on a Tuesday, right before Thanksgiving. And so I went to that, I got back up. The first hospital ended up emailing, another HR rep emailed me and said, you know, thank you for coming to our interview day, and then asked me to call them and, you know, just to talk about next steps. And so this was like at 6 o'clock at night, and I was like, I bet you, I didn't see the email till like 6:30, so I was like, you know what, I bet you they're not even there anymore, but I'm gonna call anyway. So I called, didn't answer, left a message, and so, you know, the next day she didn't call me back, and so I was like, okay, whatever. My interview for the second hospital was the next day, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go to that interview, and I'll just call back the first hospital just to like get the second interview, just to get it. So I went to the second hospital's interview with HR, and I met with a few nurses and, you know, managers and such, and I did a really good job in my interview. And I think I met with two managers, and one was OBGYN, which is what I wanted, and the other one was GI, or gastrointestinal. I wasn't really interested in that. You know, if it came down to it, yeah, I guess I would take it, but I wasn't really interested in it. So I gave my best during the interview, and when I met back with the HR right after, you know, she said, you know, the gastrointestinal manager wants to offer you a job on the spot. And I was like, oh. And I don't know, I just wasn't expecting. I've never been offered, well, I have been offered a job on the spot, but not for like a corporate position. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't know really how to take that. So she said that, you know, you can, I said, well, what about the OBGYN position? And she said, oh, you have to do a second interview with the other manager. They weren't able to make it today, so you can go, we can set up an appointment with you by next week. I said, okay, that's fine. I'd like to do that. I'd like to wait and do that. So she said, okay, no problem. So I was feeling anxious about it because I thought it was cool that I got offered a job on the spot, but I also felt guilty about not taking it right away. But something told me that I should just like wait for what I want and just don't worry about it. So I was like, can we just like hold off on that? And she's like, yeah, totally. So yeah, so then when I got home from that interview, the second hospital, I decided to call the first hospital and see if they would answer the phone. The HR woman answered the phone, and she was like, oh, we can set you an appointment for next Monday with this particular floor at this particular time, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, fine. So Thanksgiving came and went. The following Monday at 10:30 a.m. I had an interview with the first hospital with 2 nurses, and they were both super nice, and you know, they explained, you know, everything to me. It wasn't like, I was expecting them to ask me a lot of questions, kind of like how most interviews are, like, so tell me about yourself, so how long have you been a medical assistant, so what are your strengths, so what are your weaknesses, so like those kind of questions. But they didn't ask me any of that. They kind of like start talking to me as if I had the job, and I was like, okay. So I just listened a lot more than I spoke. And she's like, okay, you're gonna be doing this, you're gonna be doing that, you're gonna be doing this, you're gonna be doing that, this is how it works, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just, you know, reeling it in. And she pretty much answered all the questions I had at the end. And I'm so bad at like questions for interviews for some reason. Like I always feel like, I don't know what to ask. Obviously natural questions are good, but like a lot of times they answer your questions before the end of it, and you kind of need to ask questions in an interview, otherwise it seems like you don't have interest. So I asked like 2 questions, but I felt like they were so like general. They were good questions, but I felt like they were general because I was like, I don't even know what to ask, because I felt like I hadn't talked much during the entire interview, and I felt like, did I get this job or not? But later on, she ended up telling me, we're gonna have you walk around with one of the head medical assistants, and he's gonna show you like everything on the floor. He walked me through the whole floor. There's a north and the south floor, and every day you get either north or you get south. You get a group, which is like numbers, like room numbers that you have to tend to for that day. And you know, he showed me different things, like different symbolisms on the wall, like when you need to wear your full PPE, and what signage means you need to wear all your gear because they have TB or they have XYZ or whatever it is. And he showed me, he had me meet some patients and told me about how to do certain things. And yeah, it was a really cool experience, and the guy was nice, and he was able to like fully give me a rundown of what to expect working at the hospital on that floor. And I was like, oh, like this sounds like kind of fun or kind of cool. Like, yeah, I would love to do this. Like this is something that I can see myself doing. Only thing is, it's like, said it's the busiest floor in the hospital, and basically it's the floor where people from the emergency room, when they get admitted, go to that floor to like stay as inpatient. So I was like, wow, okay. Like, he's like, yeah, you're gonna see everything. So I'm like, okay. He's like, oh, well, how do you feel about phlebotomy? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good with phlebotomy. I like phlebotomy. He's like, okay, some people are scared of it. I'm like, nah, I'm good with it. And he said, you know, are you nervous? And I was like, no, I'm just trying to take everything in. I just want to make sure I get everything done, you know, everything right. Just want to make sure I, like, you know, everything's good. Like, okay, cool. So, and then he started telling me about hours. That's like what I was really worried about, because I'm like, how is this hours thing gonna work? So for part-time, you work 2 days a week minimum, 12-hour shifts, 7 to 7. And they asked me what my preference was. Told them I'm open to night or day. They said, if you had to choose, which one would you choose? I said day. So they're like, okay, you'll be working 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. twice a week, and if you want to pick up extra shifts to make it full-time or even get overtime, you can. I'm like, yeah, bet. So basically, like, if I work a Thursday and a Friday, 7 to 7, I could pick up extra shifts Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and then I work every third weekend. Yeah, every third weekend, and then you alternate holidays as you would at a hospital. So yeah, I'm like, I was like, wow, okay. So when I went back to meet with the nurses, they were like, yeah, like, you know, you're great, we'd love to have you. You know, how'd you feel about the floor? And I just told them how I felt, and they're like, okay, great. Well, you know, we'll just let HR know, you know, we'll just talk to HR and then you'll hear back from HR. And I was like, okay, great. So I left the interview knowing I had the job, but I guess it was HR's just like final to say or whether or not I would get it or not. So I just was kind of anxious for I got that interview was, what is it, today is Wednesday, the interview was this Monday. So for the last 2 days I've been kind of anxious just to hear back from HR, and they're like super busy, so you kind of have to like call them to get answers out of them. So I didn't want to annoy them, but I also wanted to like get things moving because I knew I wanted to start at the next interval. And this hospital does clusters, so like every month they have a cluster of new hire, and I didn't want to wait to the January cluster, so I was trying to get things moving so I can make the December cluster. So I called HR. Did I call yesterday? No, I decided not to call yesterday. I decided to call today. So cause she said I would hear back from her no later than this Wednesday. So when I didn't hear back from her by 11 o'clock this morning, I decided to call her. So I called her and she was like, oh, hey, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna just call the supervisor and, you know, the nurse to see, you know, what she has to say, and I'll hold on 1 second. I was like, okay. She called the nurse, she came back and she said, oh, the nurse said she loves you and she's really excited to have you start, you know, so welcome to this hospital, welcome to hospital number 1. So I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And so she sent me all the, you know, paperwork that I need to fill out beforehand. She sent me the information for, I had to get all my shots and to get what is it called? I have to get a physical done. I have to get a flu shot. I've been trying to avoid getting the flu shot, but I gotta get the flu shot. And you know, I have to get TB shots and other physical stuff. So I'll be doing that this Friday, and then in 2 weeks I start December 16th. My first orientation is that Monday. I also have my nutrition final that Monday, so I'm like, okay. The orientation's from, I think, 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 p.m. So like a full 8 hours, and then my nutrition exam is at 5. So I'm like, okay, I got 30 minutes to, I'll probably just get an Uber and just, you know, go to school right after the event and then take my exam. Luckily it's my easiest class, so it'll be all right. And you know, she usually doesn't keep class for like over an hour. Her exams don't take longer than an hour, and that class is 3 hours long. So I'll probably let her know by next week. I might be a little late because I have an orientation, and she works at a hospital too, my nutrition teacher, so I'm pretty sure she'll understand. She's super nice. So yeah, so that's what's going on right now. So that's the update. But yeah, I'll be more consistent with my videos now because the semester's coming to an end, and I'll have a lot more to discuss, I guess. If you guys have any questions about anything, just let me know in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.